Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with another hot take. Sorry to get all Alex Jonesy on you in the previous one. Uh, but I was connecting the dots. I'm probably out of my mind, but I like to come up with stories. That's part of what I do. But let's get into the election. The hearing in Arizona is still going on, as you can see. It's just an endless parade of people telling the Republicans, yep, his vote looked pretty effed up. So I mentioned in the previous video in Georgia, they had this ruling on the voting machines. First, the judge said, okay, hold on to the voting machines. Don't touch them. We got to examine them. Then 2 hours later, he's like, no, do whatever you want. I don't care. And then 2 hours later, he's like, oh, no. No, I made a mistake. Do it again. So, I mean, it just goes back and forth. The Arizona governor, who promised not to certify any votes until all the legal challenges were done. He certified all the votes today. So the play appears to be Trump needs to convince all the state legislatures, at least three of them, the three important ones, with enough electoral votes to either not vote for Biden or vote for him. So if he can do that, it goes to a contingent election, and then he's in. And I think that's part of the reason. That's part of the strategy for doing these hearings in a hotel. And if it works, well, the Democrats will have no one to blame but themselves, because they could have investigated this if they actually believed Joe Biden won on his own merits. I don't think a lot of them do, to be honest. I mean, look, who are you going to believe? The television or your lying eyes? Joe Biden couldn't fill a broom closet with a rally. I mean, let's be honest. We saw his rallies. If he had a dozen people in the room, that was a lot for him. And yes, you could say, oh, well, it was COVID. It was COVID. Okay. What about when he had outside rallies? He still didn't have a lot of people. He didn't have Trump trains of... They had a Trump train, I think it was in Arizona. It was 96 miles long. Wherever Trump went, he was a rock star. And you're going to tell me he lost to Joe Biden? I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. He was, and is very popular. Joe Biden's not popular. He's not even popular amongst Democrats. They hate him. They reluctantly voted for him, but they hate him. And when you hate someone, you're not motivated. You're not motivated to go out. You're not even motivated to fill out a form. You're telling me these Antifa morons finally filled out a form? No. Sorry, I'm just not buying it. This election, in my view, was stolen. And the evidence is all around you. And the fact that at every turn, the Democrats, they're not fighting them in court, although they are a little bit, but not really. They are busy saying, oh, well, in Georgia, we reset all the machines because that's what we do. And we had to reset them, and we can't wait. No, I think you could have waited. So there's definitely a lot of shenanigans going on. Whether or not the whole server thing will pan out is a whole nother story. That's almost completely separate from all this. Completely separate. So, I don't know what's going to come out of this hearing beyond what we already know. But, again, there's stories of observers not being allowed to observe. Stories of mysterious trucks showing up and just dumping ballots into the mix. Stories about safeguards that everyone seems to be ignoring in order to get more ballots scanned and read in favor of Joe Biden. Joe Biden ballots that were only filled out for him. Only. Now tell me, who do you know that votes but only votes for the president, and that's it? Has nothing to say about their senators, congressmen, mayors. Has nothing to say about ballot initiatives. It's bizarre. It's bizarre that they would only vote for Biden. And there's a million, I mean, the guys who are crunching the numbers, there are a million statistical irregularities that it could fill a book. You have what are known as bellwether towns and states. There are 19 bellwether towns and 3 bellwether states. And these towns and states vote for the person who usually vote for the person who becomes president. Trump won 18 out of 19 towns and all 3 states. So, and it's bizarre that an incumbent president lost when all his down ballot elections won. The Republicans are still winning House challenges. They just won a House seat in California by 6 votes. 6 votes. And there's still, I think, 3 or 4 outstanding that they're waiting on. One's in Pennsylvania, and they're suing on that. So either this gets to SCOTUS, or, which is what I initially thought. I initially thought, well, he's going to get it to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS is just going to go here. Or they're just going to go election void, go to a contingent election. But now it sounds like it's all on the state electors, which that does not bode well, in my view. I would be more comfortable with SCOTUS, and at least they would, if they say no to Trump, they'll give you a reason. These state level guys are too vulnerable. They're too vulnerable to bribes and people pressuring them. I mean, we've already seen it. If the governor of Arizona, who's a Republican, would stab his own constituents in the back, what do you think a state senator who nobody knows would do? He'd do anything to keep out from under a scandal, or to, get a little favor from whomever. So, this election is just, I mean, look at this. Giuliani's still questioning people. You can't even see this. This would normally be national news. This would have been on the floor of Congress. They would have been grilling people relentlessly. If the situation had been reversed, if a Democrat like Bernie was fighting against an establishment Republican, say like Mitt Romney, or I don't know, George W. Bush. Bernie's probably a bad example. Someone like Bernie who wasn't a sellout, who had won a lot of votes and seemingly was insanely popular. You would be seeing this night and day in every publication, in every media outlet. Instead, we have almost a complete media blackout, unless you know where to look for it on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, wherever. And it's just nuts. It's just nuts that there's even a discussion at this point. There's so many, and look, not all of it's fraud, not all of it's people specifically changing the vote. A lot of it is just people being stupid. A lot of it is just, dumbasses who just broke the rules because they're lazy. Michigan is supposed to have their votes double boxed in a wooden box, and they didn't do it. Now, is that them breaking the rules on purpose? No, it's probably them being lazy. But if they get lazy like that, what that means is it opens the door for anybody to walk in with a cardboard box full of ballots, or just a big bundle of them, and say, "Oh yeah, you dropped these here." And you can't accept ballots like that. They're supposed to be official. There's supposed to be a vetting process for it. These people are ignoring the vetting process because they don't really care about the electoral process. When you get right down to it, they don't care. They don't see it as being important. They're either working the job and trying to push forth their agenda, whatever it is, or they are, paid operatives paid to go in there and cause problems for the other side or help their side. But either way, it's unacceptable. And circling back to my rant in the previous video, there is this is from Glenn Greenwald, and this is recent. A long forgotten CIA document from WikiLeaks sheds light on today's U.S. politics and wars. And what this did was, this was some of the WikiLeaks stuff behind the scenes of the CIA. And what they concluded was it was a problem if the public, the general public, didn't support the wars anymore. It was a problem if they weren't apathetic. You know, that would be an issue. And their thoughts were, how do we get people to accept these wars or accept these, you know. And here they talk about the passive French and German dislike of their troop presence could turn active and politically potent hostility. Domestic politics forces the Dutch to depart. Politicians elsewhere might cite a precedent for listening to the voters. Tailoring messaging could forestall, at least contain backlash. Taps into key concerns of specific Western European audiences, could provide a buffer to today's apathy becomes tomorrow's opposition. The prospect of the Taliban rolling back hard-won progress on girls' education could provoke French indignation, becoming a rallying point for France's largely secular public and give voters a reason to support good and necessary cause despite casualties. Afghan women could serve as ideal messengers. Media events that features testimonials by Afghan women could probably be most effective if broadcast on programs that have large and disproportionately female audiences. See, this is what I was talking about in the previous video. This is the CIA talking about this, talking about how do we get people to listen to us. And this was a thing during the Bush years. They talked about, oh, Afghan women aren't getting educated. And we're all, or actually it was during the Obama years. Afghan women aren't getting an education. And you're just like, what happened to 9/11 and Osama bin Laden? What the hell are you talking about? Now we're fighting for feminism in Afghanistan? What are you, out of your mind? So, yeah. This is on Substack, by the way. Glenn Greenwald has been reduced to posting on Substack. And a long-forgotten CIA document from WikiLeaks sheds critical light on today's U.S. politics and wars. But getting back to the election, here, this is the Epoch Times, which covers this pretty well. In Wisconsin, Arizona to certify election results on Monday. Partial Wisconsin recount completed with Biden still in the lead. Michigan complaint, vote counts not normal. Digital forensic analysis shows Dominion servers connected to Iran and China, I believe, in one of the affidavits. So, yeah, these voting things were connected to the internet. Pennsylvania lawmakers formally introduced resolution to dispute 2020 election results. Good for them. I hope they get enough votes. Vote count. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, call your state rep now. And you tell them they must support that. They must support gaining back the ability to call your own electors. Vote counting feeds show thousands of votes subtracted from Trump, data expert. In Georgia, Georgia's Democratic Senate candidate says he will follow CDC recommendations on lockdowns. Well, I'm glad everybody's already passing the buck and giving the CDC more power to destroy the economy. Georgia groups attempting to register out-of-state voters. Yes, because people in Hollywood are saying, move to Georgia and vote in this important election so Biden can have both houses of Congress and so powerful oligarchs can control the country. Sorry, I'm going Alex Jones again. In Nevada, data scientists, weird spike in incomplete Nevada voter registrations, use of casinos as home address. Nevada governor signs off on state election with certificate of ascertainment for Biden. I guess that means he got the votes. In Arizona, Poll observer, large percentage of voters who just moved to the state voted. And finally, Arizona Secretary of State certified presidential election results. So it doesn't look good. I mean, it's not a good day for Trump. As you can see here, the Epoch Times has a more accurate map of what's going on. You see the 5 states that are contested. Trump needs 3 of them to not give their electoral votes to Biden. If Trump gets them, then he's in good shape to win, because Joe Biden wouldn't get 270. Whether or not Trump gets them wouldn't matter. So if you're in any of these states, you got to put pressure on your state legislature. I've written my New Jersey state legislature enough times. They don't listen to me. They would never listen to me. But if you live in one of these states, they might listen to you, especially now. So it's very important that you email if you live in one of these states and you're a resident, because if they see that a lot of people are upset by this, they see that everybody's going to be furious if Donald Trump doesn't win, then they'll vote your way. But they have to be pressured. They have to be pressured, or they have to stand on principle. And how many politicians do you know that stand on principle? As you can see, the House results, Democrats are at 222, Republicans are at 209. They picked up 9 seats. I think that's probably should be 10. Republicans lost the Senate seat. They need the Georgia seats. But quite frankly, if the elections are that rigged for the president, what do you think's going to happen in Georgia? What do you think's going to happen? And Georgia was one of the main places where they rigged the vote. If they allow Georgia to move forward with an election with the same voter machines and the same problems, it's a given that the Democrats will steal it again. Why wouldn't they? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you steal the vote again if you got away with it the first time? I mean, senator is a lot smaller than president, and who cares if they get caught? Apparently everybody's in on it. So if you're in Georgia, you got a big role to play in this. A big role. You've got to pressure your state reps now. Tell them to pick their own electors. Tell them they have to do it. They have to do it. They have to vote for Trump, or they have to just scrap the entire vote. Scrap it. There's too many problems with the vote. And if you don't believe it, watch the videos yourself. Watch them yourself. Watch all these people testify. They've all signed affidavits. They've got, witness after witness after witness. And let me tell you, it's going to be bad under Biden. It's going to be bad. And you may never get an honest election ever again after this. Never again. I don't know how you're going to get a guy like Trump back in. How are you going to get him back in 2024 if the election's rigged now? Yeah, he could run again, but they could rob him again. They could rob him again. Who's it going to be? Trump versus Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris might as well just stay home and let them rig the election again. Why not? Why should she waste the money campaigning when she could just, come to the end of the election and everybody will scream, Kamala won! So, Trump's got to win this. Trump doesn't win. We're in big trouble. I think we're in big trouble. But anyhow, that's your cheery election update from Tony D and Little Joan. Smash like and subscribe.